So in this first clip, we're going to start to look at how the subatomic particles which are contained within an atom are arranged. So the old school vision had an indivisible ball sphere, as it were, that the early scientists thought couldn't be broken down into any more parts. However, we now know that this is incorrect. And so we now know that we have a central nucleus contained in the center of the atom. And we now know that we have, via the plum pudding model and now subsequently the nuclear model by Bohr, we now know that we have electronic orbitals, which are the places whereby the electrons can exist around the outside, and these can exist. For this example, we have three rings. These are the electron shells, which is where, as the name suggests, the electrons exist. And within the nucleus, then, we now know that this is where both protons and subsequently neutrons exist. And from calculations, we now know also the masses and charges of each of these species. And for an electron, we essentially can ignore their mass. However, relatively, the value usually given is something in the region of 1 over 1840. You may see slightly different values for that, but the mass of those is 1 over 1840. And this is relative to the mass of the proton. And the mass of the proton is regarded as a unit mass, 1. There is an absolute mass in kilograms, but for now we don't need to worry about that. So we take the relative mass of the proton to be 1, and coincidentally, the mass of the neutron is approximately the same and is also approximated to 1. Now, the charge on an atom we know is neutral. An atom isn't attracted to an electric field. And we know that is true because the electrons have the negative charge, or they carry around the negative charge within an atom, and the protons carry around the positive charge within the nucleus itself. Neutrons, as the name would suggest, are neutral in terms of their charge. And what that can allow you to elucidate, which we'll look at in a subsequent clip when we look at some examples using sodium, is that the number of electrons and protons within a neutral atom will balance each other out. But as a starting point, this allows us to just briefly look at whereabouts all of the particles are within the atom. So, as I say, we have the nucleus in the middle, followed by the electrons existing in precise energy levels around the outside of the atom, as we said, building on from the plum pudding model where the electrons were thought to be just distributed within a solid positive sphere. But now we have a little bit more structure, and in the subsequent clip we'll look at sodium as an example to work out how many of each of these species, electrons, protons and neutrons, we have in an atom and whereabouts they all lie.